Hello everyone, welcome to this new lecture in the Python programming course. In this particular lecture, we will understand about data types. We will learn what are data types and also go over a few common data types in Python. So let's get started. Let's see what will be the outcomes for this particular lecture. First of all, we will try and understand what are data types. Next up, we will see about the importance of data types. And finally, we will go over some common data types in Python. Now let's learn about data types. What are data types? Data types basically refer to classification of data. We might come across a bunch of data. Some of them can be numbers, others can be text-based data. We can also have binary kind of data, something like a true or a false. As we see, there are different kinds of data that we can come across, and thus classification of data becomes really important because it helps us categorize data. With this categorization, we can tell the computer how a particular data is to be used. So data type actually represent the kind of values that tell the computer what type of operations can be performed on a particular data. So here we learned about data types. Now let's see what is the importance of data types. Firstly, data types are needed to classify data for the right operation to be performed on that data. We saw this earlier that data types help us to tell the computer about the type of operations that can be performed on a particular data. For example, our data may be numbers, and by categorizing them as numbers, we are instructing the computer to apply the mathematical addition operation on them and give us the result accordingly. Let's see the next point on how data types are important. Memory allocation happens on the type of data. Different data types have different storage requirements. For example, a number may need less memory than a string to be stored in the memory. By defining the data type or by categorizing the data, we assist or guide the computer about the memory management decisions that it needs to make in order to execute our program. So here we saw why are data types important. Now let's move on further and see what are some common data types in Python. In Python, some common data types are numeric data type, sequence data type, then we have Boolean data type, then we have dictionary data type, and we have set data type. We have several other data types in Python that are used. Here we are trying to cover some of the common data types that are used in Python. Also, we'll be covering each of these data types in slightly more details in the upcoming lectures. However, in this lecture, we will cover them in an overview. Let's see numeric data types. Under numeric, we have integers. Integers are whole numbers that can be positive, negative, or 0. For example, we have 2. Integers can be of any length and it is only limited by the memory available in the computer. Under numeric, we also have float or floating point numbers. A floating point number is accurate up to 15 decimal places. Integers and floating point numbers are differentiated by a decimal point. For example, we have 5.0 as floating point number, whereas the same thing in integer would be 5. And then we have complex numbers under the numeric data type. Complex numbers are represented as x plus yj form, where x is the real part and y is the imaginary part. For example, here we have 2 plus 4j, where 2 is the real part and 4 is the imaginary part. Moving on, under the sequence data type, first of all we have string. A string can be represented using double quotes. As you can see in this example where we have the string, this is the Python course. We can understand a string as a sequence of characters. A character, simply put, is a symbol. For example, English language has 26 characters. Moving on, under sequence data type, we have list. A list is one of the most versatile data types that allow us to work with multiple items at once. For example, we can see we have a list here which has an integer, a floating point number, and then a couple of strings that follow. As we can see from this example, a list can have several elements which may be of the same type, or in this case as they may also be of different types. A Python list can be created by placing the elements inside square brackets. Next up, under the sequence data type, we have tuple. A tuple is similar to a list, where the only difference between them is that the elements of a tuple cannot be changed once it's been created, whereas the elements of a list can be changed after its creation. A tuple in Python can be created by placing the elements inside parentheses. Now let's see the next data type, that is Boolean. Python Boolean represents one of the two values, that is true or false. Generally, it is used to represent the truth values of a given expression using either a true or a false. We will learn more about this in the upcoming lectures. Next up, we have the dictionary data type. Python dictionaries are an unordered collection of items. Each item in a dictionary is in the form of a key-value pair. Here, for example, we have the key as 1 and the value as the string Python. And this entire thing, that is the key 1 and the value Python, is called a pair. The key is separated from the string, that is the value, using a colon. And this is what forms a pair. Similarly, in the other pair, we have the key as 2 followed by a colon and then the value as the string programming. In Python dictionaries, we can also have keys of different data types. For example, here we can see that we have 3 key value pairs in this particular dictionary. In the first pair, or the first element of the dictionary, we can see the key is in the form of a string. The string is called name. Similarly, in the second element or the second pair, the key is again a string which is called val. And going on, in the third element or the third pair, the key is an integer, that is 1. So as we can see, the key in all these 3 pairs is of different data types. Similarly, we can see the value also in these key value pairs, that is the 3 pairs which we can see here. The value also are of different data types. For example, here in the first element, we can see the value is of type string with the string called Python. Similarly, in the second element, the value here is a string called programming. And in the third element or the third key value pair, the value is of type list, where the list contains the integers 1, 2, and 3. So we see here how the key value pairs in a dictionary can be of different data types. Python dictionaries are optimized to retrieve values when the key is known. As we can see here, Python dictionaries can be created by putting the elements inside curly braces, where the elements are in the form of a key value pair. And finally, we have the set data type. Set, similar to dictionaries, is an unordered collection of items, and it is also created by putting the elements inside curly braces. However, unlike dictionaries, the elements are not in a key value format here. The distinctive part about set data type is that each element in the set data type is unique and they must be immutable, that is, the value of the elements cannot be changed, and in case they are changed, that will result in the creation of an entirely new set. However, a set itself is mutable, that is, elements can be added or removed from the set. Sets can also be used to perform mathematical set operations like union, intersection, symmetric differences, etc. So here we learned about the common data types that are used in Python, and that will be all for this lecture. Thank you.